with your host, David Kelly.
Radio. Just when I thought I was out, they drug me back in.
Featuring J.W. Madden.
Don't tell me about flip-flops, man. I'm a native.
And Cricket getting you home with traffic and weather.
Camp on Melt Lemon, not in the left lane on the freeway.
Here we go! And now, a man who has not one, but three first names, David Scott Kelly.
Arizona men's basketball they're already in Durham, North Carolina. Arrived yesterday for their big showdown on Friday against the number 2 ranked Duke Blue Devils. The other two recruits from the class of 24 signed on the dotted line today. So Tommy Lloyd's 24 class is now complete. Carter Bryant from Corona, California, Corona Centennial, inked his national letter of intent, NLI, on Wednesday. And then today, up at Dream City Academy in Glendale, Emmanuel Stephen from Glendale and Jamari Phillips from Chandler inked their national letters of intent. All three of these young men are considered 4-star prospects. Jamari Phillips, 6'3" guard. Emmanuel Stephen, a 7-foot big man. So according to Rivals, that means that the Arizona Wildcats recruiting class, although a small one at just 3, and although not having a 5-star in that class, is still the number 7 class in the country, behind the team they'll play tomorrow, number 1, the Duke Blue Devils. Missouri and North Carolina round out the top 3 in that recruiting perspective, followed by Kansas, Rutgers.
Why not?
When did Rutgers
This year
start playing basketball again? Rutgers is number 5. Wow. Okay. Welcome back, Rutgers. Miami, 6, followed by, again, Arizona at 7, Purdue at 8, Creighton at 9, Kentucky at 10. And if you want to delve into the Big 12 aspect of this, Baylor comes in at number 11, Colorado at number 16, Arizona State at number 17. So Arizona basketball, a nice haul for 2024 after everybody got a little schizophrenic in the spring about whether or not Tommy Lloyd could recruit.
Oh, come on. I mean, didn't he come in with the reputation as being one of the best recruiters? I think the loudest voices, DK, are complaining about not having names on a list. Maybe don't read the room a little bit, because with the transfer portal, all these deep teams, a lot of players might shift around where once they might not have as far as recruiting goes. So I've never once questioned whether or not Coach Lloyd could bring in top talent. I think right now what you're seeing is in his going into his third year, he really gets to pick and choose, because he kind of inherited a group of guys when he first came in. Now he's trying to mold together the team and the types of players that want to buy in and set that standard that he always talks about. Real quick, going back to Rutgers, they do have this top small forward in the country, Arius Bailey, committed to Rutgers. That's why they're so high.
Arius Bailey. Okay. Not heard of him, but I'm sure he's pretty good.
Out of Powder Springs, Georgia.
And, of course, I mentioned Duke because they got the number 1 player in this class, Cooper Flagg.
Yeah, he's scary. Cooper Flagg is another one of these guys who is, maybe 20 years ago would be playing power forward,
right?
But he's developed his 2-guard skills because none of his coaches when he was younger told him he couldn't play 2-guard, right? I mean, you watch guys like Wembanyama these days, the only reason you get to be that way is because there wasn't a coach when you were 10 that said, go get in the paint. You're tall, you're supposed to be in the paint. So Cooper Flagg is a very, very skilled young man. Seen a lot of highlights. He's very fond of going through the lane and dunking on everybody, DK. So.
Jamari Phillips, the number 6 point guard in this class, and he is headed here to Arizona. So a nice haul for Tommy Lloyd, a nice haul. Feeling good about that out there? 520-848-1290, 520-848-1290 is the number to get in on the program. You can call us at that number. You can text us at that number. we can discuss this recruiting class by Tommy Lloyd now that they have signed on the dotted line. Carter Bryant, who signed yesterday, the number 11 small forward in the country. We mentioned Cooper Flagg. He was the number 1 player overall and the number 1 small forward. Carter Bryant comes in at number 11 on that list. So some good talent that Tommy Lloyd has brought in for next year's program here at the University of Arizona. We have got a stacked show for you, and it's not a short show, but a shortened show. NFL football coming up with the time change now at 5:30. Throughout the fall, we've been starting and ending this Thursday show at 4:30 for National Football League action. Now we are at 5:30. Carolina tonight at the Chicago Bears, 2 teams that are struggling to find themselves this season. But the Bears and the Panthers will come your way. Coverage on Westwood One starts at 5:30. Kickoff is scheduled for around 6:20. We will have the Miller Lite Pigskin Challenge coming up today. That'll be in the next half hour. So listen for the cue to call. When I give you that cue to call, hit those buttons, call on in. I'll pick the game. Can you pick the winner? That's how this Miller Lite Pigskin Challenge rolls. You could walk away with a $25 gift card courtesy of Miller Lite. That's if you win. If I pick the game, you pick the winner, you get $25. We're back to $25 this week. It was $75 last week because we had a week with no winner and a week when we didn't have a challenge. So we're back to $25 this week. We've got more information on the Miller Lite Pigskin Challenge. Just head on over right now to our website, wildcatsradio1290.com. You can listen to us on that website. You can also listen to this show via your iHeartRadio app. Just head on over to your iHeartRadio app. Punch in Wildcats 1290. It'll come right up. You can listen to us on Alexa. Whisper to Alexa that you want to hear Wildcats 1290, and she'll whisper back to you. And if you're wondering why we're doing that, you missed the show yesterday. So you can go back to our website, Wildcats 1290, and listen back to yesterday's show. All the shows, all these segments from yesterday are on our website to find out why we're whispering about Alexa.
Rob Solzbach was the winner from last week, and he won 3 shares, DK,
Yeah.
$75. And what he said when he came back on with us on Tuesday, because Monday, obviously, we had off for the basketball game. Tuesday show, he said he had never been to an NFL game and hoping maybe he might be able to find his way into one.
Yeah,
with some of that prize
you got a good one. There's one in Arizona this weekend. Bijan Robinson is coming home Sunday with the Atlanta Falcons. And what a game that's going to be. Not only is Bijan going to be on the field, Kyler Murray is going to make his first start. I don't know if we'll get a chance to get to Kyler Murray and his comments. I do believe he talked either yesterday or today up in Tempe. We'll get a chance maybe to hear from him and ahead of that game as well. Brian Jeffries is going to join us on this program. We're going to talk to Dave Cosgrove, the head soccer coach up at Pima College. They're in the national tournament. We talked to one of his young defenders yesterday, DeAndre Pickett. Kaz will join us on the program. Kelvin Ifan joins us as well in the 4 o'clock hour. Michael Lev from the Arizona Daily Star will be our insider today in the 5 o'clock hour. Lots in store for you. We'll have your question of the day coming up as well. We'll let you hear from head coach Jed Fish, as we did not we had some technical issues today, so we didn't get that press conference to you in full as we would have liked to on the live side at 1 o'clock. So we'll let you hear from the head coach. Some interesting things. A lot of talk about Tyler Loop today.
Yeah.
Tyler Loop and what he's doing for this program and how comfortable they are with him. Over 50 yards. And, we joked on the postgame show Saturday night going to Colorado. Maybe you let Tyler Loop line up for a 60-plus yarder with that thin air. It's certainly possible. Interesting, one of the things that Jed Fish did say about special teams in Boulder is that you're not going to do a lot of punting from like that 40, 45-yard line as you would maybe normally, because those balls will get away from you into the end zone, and you'll just be kicking touchbacks.
Yeah, they've had some issues with sacks this year, and their punter has punted more than twice as much as Kyle Sandorpass.
Yeah.
So they're used to pointing up there. My question to you is, if you have a chance to kick a 60-yard field goal, but you also have a chance if you make your next 2 field goals, DK, to be the all-time percentage leader in NCAA history. He's only 2 field goal attempts away from joining that list. He's already at the number. He just needs 2 more made without a miss, and he's the number 1 field goal kicker percentage-wise of all time.
I think somebody asked, I don't know that, I can't remember if anybody asked Fish about that in the last couple of weeks, if he was aware of the fact that Tyler Loop is that close to putting himself at the number 1 position all time. So, yeah, you're right. Like, you want him to get that, so maybe you don't try that 60-yarder with him. Maybe you just kind of keep him in his range.
You know what I think? You try whatever the game requires you to try to get the win.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. That's what I would say. I mean, I'm sure Tyler Loop would love to be at the top of that list. I don't think 1 miss is really going to hurt him if he comes back and makes 5 more in a row after that.
Yeah,
I think he'll still be fine.
Yeah, no, I mean, he's just been ultra consistent throughout his career, kind of spotty here and there, because I think when he was younger, when he was in his freshman, sophomore year, they used to bring him out for the longer kicks, right? So he wouldn't kick the long ones anyway. But, yeah, it's just super impressive. I think that's one of those deals that you would never look at the percentage that a field goal kicker's had over time until you get to that stage where you qualify or close to qualifying. I didn't know. It was Dana, right? Dana Cooper brought that to our attention
absolutely
2 weeks ago when he called in during the postgame show. And ever since then, I've been tracking it. I think he was 6 or 8 away, 8 attempts away. He's made his last 4. So, yeah, only 2 more makes, and he's the all-time percentage leader in NCAA history.
520-848-1290, 520-848-1290 is the number to get in on the program. You can call us at that number. You can text us at that number. You can watch all of us, me, Cricket, J-Dub. You can watch us on a number of different platforms. We are on YouTube. We are on Facebook. We are on Twitch at Wildcats Radio 1290. Wave to the people, Cricket.
Hi.
Yeah, there you go. There's Cricket. She is here with us. And you can also watch us on Twitter at Wildcats 1290. So Cricket is here. And so Cricket, the other day, so, you know, we are, for those of you that are not aware of where we are located here in the famed CNWT, we are located next to the Humane Society. And so there's always a lot of dog walking that goes on over there. And we know that Cricket loves the dog walking. And it's interesting. We have some folks over there who have done wrong that walk the dogs at times. Some incarcerated folks who wear the orange who wear the orange jumpsuits. But hey, they're trying to do right by themselves and walk these dogs. One of them actually tried to get me to take one of the dogs home last week. He was literally, Cricket, let me tell you, he literally was like, this is his name, and he's housebroken, but he had all this information, and I'm thinking to myself, wow, man, you are really, really diving into this job to try to get me to take this dog home.
It's a salesperson in the brewing.
Exactly.
In the mix,
yeah. So I think he's going to be okay with himself. Do you do that? I mean, do you ever I know you walk dogs. Do you ever approach people if you're out, or do you just walk when you do it? Do you just walk inside the facility like they do?
Depending on the dog, but sometimes I do walk them around the park. We're not really, as dog walkers, we're not permitted to try to facilitate adoptions because we're not trained for adoptions.
I see.
But I will tell you, I used to work with some inmates, also used to work at PAC, and those guys were so into it. They just love those animals so much, and the animals love them too. You know, they might be scared of me, but the big old inmate would come over baby, talking to this little dog, let me help you get this dog out. This is my favorite dog. This is Scout, and the same thing.
Yeah.
And I think that maybe them being able to work with animals or get out and do a job that really maybe motivates them to continue on that path.
Yeah,
I like that,
Absolutely. I don't remember exactly the kind of dog that he said that it was, but so what is your favorite dog? Do you have
my breed?
Your breed.
My breed is wacky. The Belgian Malinois.
Belgian Malinois.
Yeah.
Wow, I've never heard of that one.
That's a military police working dog.
Really?
Yeah. They look kind of like German Shepherds. They look like a short-haired, skinny German Shepherd.
Belgian Malinois.
Yes.
Okay, so if anyone out there has a Belgian Malinois, I want to hear from you today about that particular breed of dog and what you love about that dog.
The phone is ringing off the hook.
Is it really?
No.
Oh, I love
Not
that.
yet. I haven't even given out the number, so how would they know what to call?
They know.
Let me get the number out, Jada. 520-848-1290. 520-848-1290 if you have a Belgian Malinois. I'll have to look up the spelling on that in the break. See, yeah, my wife, she's into the corgis. We don't have a dog. We've never had a dog. But I think if we got a dog, that's what she would want to get. Are you like into? Do you have friends that like corgis or anything like that? Or
And we had a corgi when I was growing up.
Really?
She was really cool. Yeah.
Okay.
Kind of
Yeah,
like a
they're cool.
mix, but yeah,
They're
they're,
cool dogs.
really, really cool.
I had a
dogs.
schnauzer. I had my
Those were
one
cool,
dog
too.
was a schnauzer. Yeah.
I had a Vizsla when I was a very little kid.
Vizsla?
Yeah, it's kind of like a greyhound, like a skinny, very skinny dog.
Okay.
We had shepherds though growing up. My dad raised shepherds, so we up
Oh, okay.
near Sabino Canyon when he bought that house in the early '80s. We had shepherds. Currently, though, we have two long-haired Dachshunds, and I'm telling you, like I've been around a lab is my favorite go-to dog. Shepherds are great, but these Dachshunds are the most loyal, loving family dogs I think I've ever been around. I've been around hundreds of breeds, and yeah, I would never have expected that, but yeah, I think the two dogs I have now are probably the two of the most loving, caring dogs I've ever been around.
That's great.
All right, getting you home every 20 minutes on the fives with your traffic. She'll walk your dog if you need to do that. It's
Truth.
cricket.
From the O'Reilly Chevrolet Traffic Center, it's Wildcats Radio 1290 Traffic and Weather together. Collision reported bicyclist struck Tucson Boulevard near Fort Lowell, north of Fort Lowell on Tucson Boulevard. First Avenue and Oracle issue with traffic signals at that intersection. Also some slowdowns for traffic on Grant Road at Wilmot and also on Alvernon at Grant. 45 the low and clear overnight, 74 sunny tomorrow and 73 now. I'm Cricket with your Wildcats Radio 1290 Traffic and Weather together.
This report.
888-1290, 520-848-1290 is the number to get in on the program. Let's talk to the voice of the Arizona Wildcats, Brian Jeffries, who is getting ready for this exciting weekend. And Brian, I guess my first question I was going to ask you was, have you got your Learjet reared up and ready to go for these cross-country travels this weekend? But I understand you're going to be just focusing on football this weekend.
Well, David, it is football season, and
Yeah.
so I think that's one thing. And if you would have gotten me a jet, I could have done it, but I'm still waiting.
Yeah, you likely have not seen my budget, have you? You have not seen my budget.
Oh, I'm sure you could have found somebody out there that you know.
And you probably never heard my soliloquy on Learjets. I'm one of those people that those little bitty planes kind of fear me. I'm not afraid to fly. I'm just afraid to fly on little planes like that. And so I don't even know if I would even want to have anything to do with a Learjet. So what can the fans expect for Arizona basketball tomorrow night?
Well, it's an exciting early season matchup, but I think the key there is early. And when I talked to Tommy Lloyd last week before they left, or earlier this week before they left, he just doesn't want to put too much into this. I mean, it's a key matchup against two traditionally strong programs. You can't ignore that, nor should you ignore that. But at the same time, it's the second game of the season, and just don't put too much into it. And one reason that Tommy put the schedule together, which is very difficult, as you well know and have talked about quite a bit, is the fact that Arizona may not win all these games, but it's the best thing is they're going to play these games, and it's going to test them, and it's going to make them a better team. And so, I've been to Cameron Indoor before. I know what kind of atmosphere it is there. It's extremely difficult to win. It's an older gym, and I do mean gym. The fans are on top of you. It's a great student section. Not many teams go in there and beat Duke. So it's a huge test for the Wildcats, but they relished it. I think the guys are looking forward to it. A chance again to make an early mark. I'm not suggesting they can't win. I think absolutely Arizona can go in there and win. They've got the talent and the depth to do it. But you're asking a lot, because all you have to do is look at Duke's record there at Cameron Indoor. You look at what some of the other I call them big time teams, North Carolina, et cetera, and the success that they've had in that building, and it's few and far between. So as long as they can put some blinders on, kind of block out everything that's going on around it, the court is still the same size, and as Gene Hackman has pointed out, the rims are still the same height as they are everywhere else. You just have to go out and play your game and push everything else aside. So, and Duke is probably looking at it the same way. The only advantage they have is the home court. Other than that, they're a team that a lot of people think could win it all this year because of their returning talent and also their recruiting. And you can say the same about Arizona's. So how does Caleb Love deal with? He's had great success there at Cameron Indoor personally, and the fans there certainly will remember him as a Tar Heel. So I think that's going to be one of the games within the game. But to me, David, two things, probably the biggest other than just the atmosphere is, how is that battle down low in the paint going to go tomorrow night? I think that's going to say a lot about the final outcome.
Brian, just briefly, I know that you mentioned going to Durham. That was in 1990. I was also at the two games, 1987 and 1991, the infamous double overtime clock malfunction game where Coach K said he would never come back. These two teams have only played 9 total times. They haven't played since 2013 in the NIT preseason championship. And yet a lot of Arizona fans, and I know some Duke fans, we had a beat writer on early, consider this to be a rivalry. I love that they've got a home and home coming again between these two programs. And just from your perspective, having sat at a lot of those games and seeing the energy of two top flight programs, how important do you think it is for for Coach Lloyd to have this kind of matchup, these home and home series where these great teams can come into McHale, you can see a return trip out there to their place. How big is that for Coach Lloyd here at Arizona?
Well, that's, again, why he put this schedule together, because he wanted to test his team against the best of the best. And one thing you learn, and if you follow the NCAA selection committee and the net number and everything they put into postseason play, you are rewarded for playing a tough schedule. Arizona could lose tomorrow. They could lose to Michigan State. They could beat Alabama. They could beat Purdue. They could lose to Florida. Atlantic, and I'm just throwing those things out as distant possibilities. But in the end, it's only going to help you when it comes March, because Arizona's going to be in the NCAA tournament. That's always the expectation every year. The tougher schedule you have, the more respect you earn from the selection committee. Now, the more of those games you win, and I'm just talking about these premier games that are on the schedule this year, the more of them you win, the better off. But you're going to, a couple of years ago, remember when Arizona played that road game at San Diego State and they beat the Aztecs? That one road win meant, I think the committee said 1 or 2 seeds in the final bracket.
Yeah.
That's how big a road win like that. Now, these are the game tomorrow's road. These other games we're talking about are neutral court, but it still gives you an advantage in terms of how you are graded come the end of the season. And I will say one thing, Jada, I know what you remember. Coach K, I don't remember him saying anything about the clock malfunction, and they can say it. He just never played home and home games. I was talking to some guys back at Duke. When was the last time Duke played a home and home? I mean, when was the last time?
Yeah. We just
they don't do it. He didn't do it. Now, Coach Shire has a different outlook, but Coach K would never do that. And I remember when Lute Olson was here, and I talked to him about, and he tried over and over to get Coach Krzyzewski to put that together. He would play neutral court games, as you well know. But right now, up until what I was told is the only way Duke would play on a visiting court in non-conference play was in the ACC Big Ten matchup. That was the only way he would do it.
Brian Jeffries joining us, the voice of the Wildcats. It is Arizona Duke on the men's basketball floor Friday. It is Arizona Colorado on the football field on Saturday. I guess, Brian, if there's a consolation prize for not going to the Cameron Indoor Stadium, it's that you get to go to what I think is one of the most beautiful venues for college football in the country at Folsom Field. And we, unfortunately, we can't get real nostalgic about Colorado because they're going with us to the Big 12. But this is going to be a fun one just because of the pomp and circumstance that's been around this Colorado team, even though they've kind of fallen on some tough times the last few weeks. A lot of people are afraid of this game. Classic trap game against a team in Arizona that's playing very well, and a team in Colorado that's kind of sputtering along right now.
Last home game for the Buffaloes this year.
Yeah.
And it's been a bit rocky here of late, but they got off to that great start. And certainly the Deion Sanders effect has taken over Boulder. Every home game sold out this year. Tickets on the secondary market are through the roof. It's going to be a beautiful day tomorrow, 58 degrees, plenty of sunshine. And it has become a show up there, and there's no doubt about it. And you give Deion Sanders all the credit in the world for doing that. Now, as he has talked about here, in particular the last couple of weeks, reality is set in. And even though they've had almost a total turnover in their roster, I mean, they have one defensive starter back from last year to tell you how much change they've had. They have a lot of work to do in terms of talent. And now if he follows through on the way he has started here in terms of getting some better guys into the program, and I think all the attention that it has brought to the program, they're going to get things turned around. Arizona was 1-11 a couple years ago, went to 5-7, and now sitting at 6-3. Colorado was 1-11 last year. Well, they've already won, 4 games this year. So, they've got a chance, like Arizona, to get things turned around in a hurry. But we'll see. We'll see down the road. I'm looking forward to it because it's going to be a great atmosphere. When I was talking to Jed earlier today, we were talking about the fact that the game at Stanford, there was 9,000 people in the stands. We went to Pullman. Pullman by halftime, most of the folks had left. Arizona's not played a road game. And Mississippi State will add that. That was a great atmosphere. But in the Pac-12, Arizona has not played a game like they're going to see on Saturday in terms of the fan and the bedlam that's going to surround the game. So that's a big part of it. How do the Wildcats handle that? I think this team, based on what I've seen, I think it's actually going to help them in terms of their preparation. Now, that doesn't mean they're going to win the game, but I think they're going to enjoy the fact that they're 6-3. They're going to a bowl game, and they're going into Folsom Field. And this is it for Colorado in terms of their home schedule this year. They want to close it. They want to be the spoiler now. And can the Wildcats stand up to that? I think Arizona will, as long as they take care of the ball. That's the one thing Colorado, they've got a great offense. Their defense has been, a challenge, but they forced 18 turnovers this year. And if the Wildcats take care of the ball like they have since really the second game of the season, they got a great chance to come out with a win.
I had a fan that asked me to ask you if you have ever gone down and been anywhere close to Ralphie.
Oh, I've gone down there pregame when he's in his, or he or her, I should add, are in their corral down there. But I've never gotten close enough to touch Ralphie. I don't think they really want you touching Ralphie, and I don't think I would. I go to Colorado a lot. My wife's from Colorado, and actually from in the little town that she grew up in, there's a buffalo ranch. Oh, wow. About a quarter mile down the road. And I've walked by those buffalo many times before, and I want nothing to do with them. I mean, I was scared the first time I had a buffalo burger that, they might take it out on me. So.
Jeez. That is something indeed. Hey, Brian, have safe travels over to Boulder, and have a great call with Lamont Lovett and Dana Cooper. An early noon kick of finally some day football for the Wildcats on Saturday.
All right. Thanks, David. Looking forward to it.
Brian Jeffries, the voice of the Wildcats. He will not be making the cross-country trip this weekend. We understand Phil Brame from the home office, the Learfield home office, one of the network managers, will be calling the play-by-play on that game. So it'll be a little bit different sounding game, but still they've got a bunch of professional folks over there at Learfield, so we'll have that game for you here on Friday.
It's just too bad our Lear Jets were just not available for Mr. Jeffries.
You would think Learfield would have Lear Jets, right? No, maybe not.
Not this weekend.
Apparently
they're
not.
all in the use, I believe.
Okay.
Someone checked them all out.
Yeah, the big wigs. The big wigs have all the Lear Jets. All right, 520-848-1290 is the number to get in on the program. We're going to talk some soccer straight ahead. Dave Cosgrove, the head coach, longtime head coach and soccer guru here in Tucson with the Pima Aztecs, is going to join us next. We've got a stacked show coming up for you. Kelvin Efon in the 4 o'clock hour, Michael Lev in the 5 o'clock hour. Before we get out of here for NFL football, the Carolina Panthers at the Chicago Bears. It's DK on the Sports Tip. I'm David Kelly with JW Madden and Cricket. You're listening to Wildcats Radio 1290.
From the O'Reilly Chevrolet Traffic Center, it's Wildcats Radio 1290 traffic and weather together. With reported collisions, 22nd and Swan Road and 22nd Street. Also, Tucson Boulevard near Fort Lowell on Tucson Boulevard to the north of Fort Lowell. That was a bicyclist truck. Also clearing Campbell to the north of River Road. First Avenue and Oracle issue with traffic signals, and also road work and backups along Alvernon between Fort Lowell and Speedway Boulevard. And weather-wise, clear skies overnight, 45 the low, 74 sunny tomorrow and 73 now. I'm Cricket with your Wildcats Radio 1290 traffic and weather together.
This report is sponsored by Lowe's. Get great deals all month long when you shop Black Friday every day at Lowe's. Get 25% off all artificial Christmas trees and tree decor. Valid through 11/15. Tree decor includes ornaments, toppers, collars, and skirts. While supplies last, selection varies by location.
Football and Miller Lite, America's greatest pairing. Can cracks at kickoff. Tailgates going way past postgame.
Wildcats Radio 1290.
All right, 520-848-1290 is our phone number. That's your phone number for you to get in on this program. Call us or text us to talk all things Arizona basketball, Arizona football. How about all things Pima Aztecs? We're pleased to be joined by the head coach of the Pima Aztecs men's soccer team, headed to the national tournament once again, is Dave Cosgrove. And Dave, I had DeAndre Pickett on the show yesterday, and I asked him if there was any sweating that was going on Tuesdays. You guys waited to find out if you were going to get a bid. But I'd heard prior to that you already had a practice scheduled for Tuesday afternoon. So I guess that means that you knew that you were going to be going to the national tournament.
Hey, David, thanks for having me on. I felt like we had a really good regular season. We were in the top 5 all year long. So I thought we were in a very strong position to receive an at-large bid. So the mindset all along was we were going to prepare to be at the national tournament. And, of course, we're super excited to be there again.
And obviously the second year that this event has been held here in Tucson. What did you learn about it last year? Obviously, this is a home situation for you, how you handled it. Are you doing it the same way this year? Are there things you're changing about the structure of how you manage your team for an event that's being held here in Tucson?
Yeah, for the most part, we are keeping the process the same that we had last year. And honestly, the previous couple of years we've been in national tournaments. Obviously, the difference is just we're not doing as much traveling. But, we are fortunate that the school is, getting us hotels so we can stay and be isolated from everybody and just focus in on the tournament for the week or week and a half if we're lucky enough to be there that long. I think the most important thing for us, obviously, is just to put ourselves in the moment and be prepared to play as well as we possibly can, limit distractions. And I think that's probably the thing I learned the most from last year is, because we have so many, connections to the city, obviously there's a lot of potential distractions. So we're going to try to eliminate as many as possible and just kind of isolate our kids and just keep the focus on, playing well.
Dave Cosgrove, the head coach of the Pima Aztecs men's soccer team, joining us. It's the Aztecs at the national tournament starting on Monday with the first of what will be 2 pool play games. And I mentioned DeAndre Pickett at the top of the show. Tell me a little bit about him and what you like about him, a young man who, interesting story from what he was telling us. He started down in Sahuarita, and his Sahuarita coach was actually, he said, the one that told him that he probably needed to go find himself a bigger program, which you probably don't hear that from too many high school coaches, telling what was likely one of their best players that, you might want to go try that 6A school up the road.
Yeah, DeAndre is a great kid. Comes from a really good family. They're very supportive of what he wants to do. He's very disciplined, very committed, very competitive. So, we know we landed a big-time player when he came to Pima. And, at some point, I think I'm probably going to be faced with the same decision as high school coaches, which is, when is it time for DeAndre, to kind of be pushed out of the nest and to challenge himself at the next level. And, the way things are going right now, that might come sooner than later. DeAndre, I think, is, physically and mentally and technically ready to take that next step. I think it's just a case of what opportunities come his way, what he and his family want to do. But, we have him this year. He's a big part of what we're doing. And he's a terrific kid. I can't speak highly enough about him, about the way he trains and, the way he sets an example in the way he practices every day, way he takes care of his body, he takes care of his academics. We're just really fortunate that, we get a bunch of good Southern Arizona kids who are like him that come to our program.
On the pitch, in terms of DeAndre, what makes him such a skilled defensive player? I mean, you guys had 8 shutout victories this season, but imagine he was instrumental part of making that happen.
Yeah, DeAndre was an all-conference player, and so far I would think he's probably looking at being an All-American as well with the way he's performed. He just imposes his will on the game, whether it's through technical ability or physical ability, which he has both, from leadership standpoint, from competing and being gritty. He kind of has all the intangibles. And, he's certainly a player that, I think most people will recognize and see on the field. His will to win and imposing his will on the game, I think, are probably two of the most strongest parts of his game.
Your top scorer this season was a young man out of Spain named Jose Luis Martin Montalegre. Where did you find this young soccer player?
Yeah, we're very fortunate that we're in a situation where we can pick up some international players or players from outside Tucson. I'm a big believer in the Pima College mission, which is really to support our local community. And the program's backbone has always been built on Southern Arizona kids. I think 3/4 of our roster is Southern Arizona kids, and I think we start nine Southern Arizona or Arizona players. So that's the backbone. But once in a while, when we get a kid who's recommended to us who, kind of checks all the boxes, we'll go out into and try to offer an opportunity to an international student. And Jose, we hit a home run with, he it's funny, both you keep saying these young men, but DeAndre and Jose are both very, physical for our game. And yet they both just recently turned 18. So they are truly two of the youngest players on our team. But if you look at them physically and the way they handle themselves, they look more and they shoulder. And that's what I love about him. He just, a different coach to does things, from his physical play to his work rate to his understanding of the game. Obviously, coming from a soccer-rich country like Spain, he's very, very up to date in the modern training, the modern ideas in the game. So a lot of times we have a discussion more of a player to an assistant. I'm sorry, from a coach to an assistant coach rather than a player to a coach, because his mind is very well developed. Coming up in Spain. So once in a while, we take a chance to recruit those international kids, and we've been very fortunate. The assistant coaches do a fantastic job vetting these guys, and we're bringing in some terrific kids and some terrific players.
Pima Aztecs head coach Dave Cosgrove is our guest, talking about international players in your program. We've seen a number of international kids throughout the Pima Aztec multiple programs over the course of the last few years. Is it becoming easier for you all to get those kids here and get them into school?
Well, again, going back to the Pima College mission, I think it's, an education for anybody who wants it, and trying to make it as affordable as possible. And it's a fantastic education. And I can only speak for myself that it was an absolute, godsend that I was able to attend Pima coming out of high school myself a very, very long time ago. But, this opportunity should be available to, I think, Southern Arizona kids, for anybody in Arizona. But I think we have something to market and something to offer kids from outside the country. I think it's a terrific school. I think it's a terrific community. So when you add in the success of all the athletic programs at Pima, I think it becomes a really, great destination for many international students. The city's big, the weather's fantastic for most of the year. So coming over here from these other countries, I think, the athletic program makes it a really desirable spot to be at.
You guys got the 5 seed in this tournament. Are you happy with that? Is that kind of what you thought where you might sit as an at-large selection?
Yeah, we felt like we'd probably be in that 4, 5, 6 range based on our season and then playing in our conference, which, obviously I'm a little biased, but not just for men's soccer, but for all the sports. The Junior College League in Arizona is so much more competitive and better than people think. And it doesn't matter if you're talking women's volleyball or men's baseball or the 2 basketballs. The leagues are really, really difficult to play in. So when you do really well in our league, I think it automatically gives you an opportunity to be a high seed at a tournament. So, I think the 5 seed is very fair. I think we've earned it. And now, of course, we have to play 2 very good teams. So it's going to be a very difficult, very competitive tournament.
I know last year Jim Monaco was joking that, hey, Dave Costco, he had to get to the national tournament in order to get a pay raise. Was he hanging that over your head again this year?
It's kind of a funny story, David, in the fact that, I actually felt more pressure these last 2 years to just get to the tournament, because we're hosting it than I have in my 25 years. I mean, I felt more pressure the night before these qualifying games for the national tournament than I did the night before some national championship games we've been in. So, I don't think Jim needed to throw any more pressure on me than we already were facing. It was something that, we wanted to have here in Tucson for a very long time. And, again, our team last year was able to get in, which was terrific. I thought they played well in the playoffs. And then this year, obviously, we thought all year long we'd have a great chance to make the tournament. And now, we want to do more than just make the tournament if we can. We want to try to progress through the tournament as far as possible.
Dave Cosgrove is joining us, the head coach of the Pima Aztecs. How's your goaltending been this year?
Good. We have a couple goalkeepers we really believe in. We had a freshman this year, J.C. Ortiz from Nogales, who did a great job. He played most of the minutes, and then lately we've been playing with a little bit more of an experienced player, a sophomore who's been in the program, came out of South Point High School, Owen Lynch, who, we felt just like with, the experience and the maturity of being in the playoffs and at the national tournament last year, gives us a great opportunity. But the reality is we feel very confident with both of them, and, we're very comfortable with both of them in goal, and that is an advantage for us. So, obviously everything's going to be magnified over the next week. If we play really well, we'll have an opportunity to do well. We make some mistakes, and it could be a tough tournament for us, and that's true for our goalkeepers and true for our defense, and of course true for our attacking players as well.
How do you judge goaltending at this JC level, and what you want to see from those kids?
Yeah, to be totally honest with you, I trust my goalkeeper coach. We've had terrific goalkeeping coaches who specialize in that position because, quite frankly, it's way above my pay grade. It takes, I think, a different type of person to play in goal, different type of personality, different skill set, obvious. So I defer to the experienced goalkeeper coaches we've had. And this year, it's actually Niels Roth, who played for us and started in goal for us in our first national championship in 2018. So he's come back to the program, and we're super excited to have him. And he's done a great job with our goalkeepers, and he's really brought them along. When we look at goalkeepers and we talk about development of goalkeepers, I defer to his experience all the time.
Yeah, and it's great to see. You mentioned Niels Roth, who obviously played here. Luis Gonzalez, who was a great high school player here in Southern Arizona. Great to see some of those kids that have been a part of this program in the past, kind of learning under the tutelage of a great mind like you to continue that legacy of strong soccer mentorship here in Southern Arizona. Hey, Dave, congratulations on making it to the national tournament. It starts Monday night, again, at 5:30 for the fellows. It'll be pool play, and over at the Keynote Sports Complex, a couple of games in pool play, and hopefully this year a chance to get to the knockout round.
David, I really appreciate you taking the time to have me on. You guys have always been such terrific supporters of the athletic programs at Pima College, so anything we can do to help you out, we will. And thanks again. It's been a pleasure.
All right. Dave Cosgrove, the head coach of the Pima Aztecs men's soccer team. Again, they'll be playing in the stadium. So they'll be playing in the stadium on, I'm sorry, let me check that. I think that's their second game. They're actually at the grandstand, which is the backfield there by the stadium for the game on Monday night against Rock Valley, Illinois. And then they'll play their second pool play game in the stadium on Tuesday. That'll be against Iowa Lake. So Pima's the 5 seed. They'll play the 9 seed. Rock Valley on Monday. They'll play the 4 seed. That'll be the tough one. Iowa Lakes on Tuesday. Well, they're all tough when you get to this level. So Aztecs did not get out of pool play last year. They'll be looking to get out of pool play this year. All right, it is DK on the Sports Tip. Coming up in the next hour, we'll chat with Kelvin Ifan. I want to get in. I don't know if I'm going to have time. I want to get into the situation that's happening at U of A. Last week at the Board of Regents meeting, it came out that the university right now is in a little bit of a pickle financially. And I want you to hear some of this sound. We're going to try to get to this today because we really don't have another show until next Tuesday because we're in basketball mode tomorrow and then we're in basketball mode again on Monday night. So I want to try to get to some of this today, let you hear from the president, Dr. Robert C. Robbins, and a couple of the regents on the financial pickle that is facing the University of Arizona and how that affects, potentially could affect the athletic department. It's DK on the Sports Tip. I'm David Kelly with JW Madden and Cricket. You're listening to Wildcats Radio 1290.
From the O'Reilly Chevrolet Traffic Center, it's Wildcats Radio 1290 traffic and weather together. Heavy backups for both directions of traffic on Alvernon, both directions between Fort Lowell and Speedway Boulevard. Heavy backups. Please avoid that area. You could use Swan, Columbus, Dodge, or even Country Club instead, and that's due to road work. Collisions 22nd Street in Swan and also Tucson Boulevard north of Fort Lowell. 45 the low and clear skies, 74 sunny tomorrow and 71 now. I'm Cricket with your Wildcats Radio 1290 traffic and weather together.
This report is sponsored by GeneratorFranchise.com. Millions protect their homes from power outages with Generac home standby generators. Would you like to be part of this lucrative industry? Generator Supercenter, the nation's #1 Generac generator dealer, has limited franchise opportunities in your area. Learn more.
KWT.
From the what?
Central Northwest Tucson, duh.
It's DK on the Sports Tip with your host, David Kelly.
Radio. Just when I thought I was out, they drug me back in.
Featuring J.W. Madden.
Don't tell me about flip-flops, man. I'm a native.
And Cricket getting you home with traffic and weather.
Camp on Melt Lemon, not in the left lane on the freeway.
Here we go! And now, a man who has not one, but 3 first names, David Scott Kelly.
And it is Thursday here in the city. We've got NFL football coming up for you at 5:30. We've got, in fact, I think now would be a good time to do this since we got to get this in. We got a lot to get in here before 5:30. Why don't we do our Miller Lite Pigskin Challenge right now?
Let's do it. You think people got their dialing fingers ready?
Right now. Okay. Caller, start dialing right now. 520-848-1290. 520-848-1290. It's the Miller Lite Pigskin Challenge. I'm going to take, I got to get through this quick, so I'm going to take caller number 1. Caller number 1 to 520-848-1290 right now gets a chance to play the Miller Lite Pigskin Challenge with me. I'll pick the game. You pick the winner, and you've got a chance to go home with a $25 gift certificate. 25 bones will be what you get on that. Not a gift certificate, but a gift card from the Miller Lite folks. If you do not win, if the team that you pick loses and I win, then you get a prize pack, and the pot rolls over to next week. All right? So caller number 1. In fact, we have caller number 1. Jesus Rodriguez, you are on.
No, Tony.
Tony, okay, I'm sorry. Tony, you are on Wildcats Radio 1290 DK on the Sports Tip.
How you doing?
Good. How are you, Tony?
Awesome. Doing good. Thank you. Appreciate it.
Outstanding. Tony, are you an NFL fan?
Yes, of course.
What's your favorite team?
Absolutely. The Raiders.
The Raiders. Oh, I was actually going to say, because I wasn't sure what game I wanted to pick for us. So I was going to pick your favorite team, that you said, but we had the Raiders last week was our game. So I cannot go with the Raiders. So
okay.
You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to go. Here's what we're going to do. We're going to go with this game, right? Even though we had. All right, now let's see. Okay, we're going to go.
DK's throwing a dart at a dartboard right now.
I'm throwing this dart at the dartboard right now. Okay, here's the game we're going to pick. We are going to pick the New Orleans Saints on the road at the Minnesota Vikings. Okay, the New Orleans Saints at the Minnesota Vikings. Both these teams are 5-4, and the Saints have 3 road wins this year. So 3 of their 5 wins are on the road. The Vikings, who are at home, have only won 1 out of their 5 wins at home. New Orleans, in fact, is a 3-point favorite. We're not playing the spread here. This is a straight up game. I just wanted to give you that. So, who do you pick in that game? The New Orleans Saints at the Minnesota Vikings.
I'm going to pick the Saints.
You're going to pick the Saints. Why do you like the Saints and David Carr there?
Derek Carr.
Derek Carr, I'm sorry.
No worries. I like the Saints because I don't like Minnesota's quarterback situation.
Josh Dobbs? You don't like Josh Dobbs went there without any practice and won last week.
Yeah, but I think the Saints defense is a lot better than who they played last week.
You know what happened? You know what happened to the last guy? You know what happened to the last guy that played the Miller Lite Pigskin Challenge and picked based on what he thought was a bad quarterback situation? He lost.
He won. Oh, he did?
He lost. In fact, it was a couple weeks ago. When Atlanta was facing Will Levis, he took the Falcons, and Will Levis threw for 4 touchdown passes in his debut, and the Titans won. But that's fine. You go with the Saints.
Who do you like on Saturday?
Who do I like on Saturday between Arizona and Colorado? I'm gonna be at that game.
Oh,
you're going to the game in Boulder?
Yes, sir.
Outstanding. Do you go to a lot of road games or?
I went to the USC game this year, and Colorado is kind of last minute, but we'll be there. We're actually leaving tomorrow out of Phoenix.
Okay, how'd you get your tickets?
I just went on Ticketmaster,
Okay.
$150.
Wow,
Yeah,
all right.
so they're not bad.
Have you ever been to a
Yeah, not
game at
too
Folsom
shabby.
Field?
I've never been there. No.
It is one of the more beautiful venues in college football. You are gonna love it. You're gonna absolutely love it. Yeah, I like Arizona to win. I don't know that I'm real comfortable with that 10-point spread though. I still got it. We make our best bets at the end of every pregame show. Right now, I'm leaning on taking Colorado on that 10 points. I don't know I think it's going to be a closer game than that.
Yeah, so do I. But is Arizona favored by 10 or by 12?
No, the last line I saw was 10, unless it's moved in the last few days.
Yeah, I think it's gone down a couple points the last couple of days. But yeah,
Okay.
I like Arizona. I do like Arizona to cover. They'll probably win by 13, 14 points.
All right. Well, there you go, Tony. You lay that money. You lay that money with Desert Diamond Casino and get that best bet. Hey, stay on the line, Tony. J-Dub's going to get your information, and we want to follow up with you on Tuesday if we can. We'll call you on Tuesday just to kind of rehash what happened, okay?
Okay, perfect. Thank you. So you have a good day.
All right, you two have fun in Boulder. 520-848-1290. 520-848-1290 is the number to get in on the program. Tony is the player this week in the Miller Lite Pigskin Challenge. So that is the game we are going to play. The Saints at the Vikings. Both teams are 5-4. The Saints on the road have been very good, 3-2. The Vikings at home, not so good this season, 1-3, and the Saints are a 3-point favorite. Tony has taken the Saints, which means I get the Vikings. If the Saints win, Tony gets a $25 gift card from Miller Lite. If the Saints lose, he'll get a prize pack still, and the winner next week will have a chance, or the player next week will have a chance to win $50 as the pot rolls over if there is no winner. We've got information on our Miller Lite Pigskin Challenge. Just head right on over to our website, which is wildcatsradio1290.com. All right, a couple things I want to talk about real quick here. I want to send a shout out to the volleyball season came to an end last night, the high school volleyball season for a couple of teams here in southern Arizona. Micah Mountain and South Point Catholic were both playing in the Conference 4A state semifinals last night. Unfortunately, both teams came up on the losing end on the road up in the valley. Micah Mountain was the 4th seed, and they lost at the number 1 team in Conference 4A, American Leadership Academy, Gilbert North. They lost in straight sets, 25-14, 25-16, 25-14. South Point Catholic was the 6th seed in Conference 4A. They were also on the road up in the valley in Australia Foothills. They, too, fell in straight sets, 25-19, 25-13, and 25-16. But congratulations to both the Lancers and the Micah Mountain Thunderbolts on fabulous volleyball seasons. All right, 520-848-1290. 520-848-1290 is the number to get in on the program. So last week at the Arizona Board of Regents, it came out that the University of Arizona is in a little bit of financial trouble. And just to kind of lay this out for you, Arizona right now, the University of Arizona as a whole, does not have a lot of what they call cash on hand. And in fact, they have just 97 days worth of cash on hand. Now, when we say cash on hand, we're not going to get into all the logistics of that, but that's still roughly in the millions of dollars. But for a university, you don't want to necessarily be that close to not having money, as you might say. And this has been a situation that has been building for a number of years for the University of Arizona, and it could absolutely have an effect on this athletic department. So I want to play you some of the comments that came out of this Board of Regents meeting. This was actually a week ago today that the Board of Regents met. And the first thing that you're going to hear is the president of the university, that is Dr. Robert C. Robbins, kind of talking about how the Wildcats or how the university can find its way out of this mess.
I think philanthropy is going to be a really important part of this. Philanthropy is not money that we would use for operating budget, but for instance, I'm leaving here to drive to a big kickoff of the public phase of our $3 billion campaign, which I think will exceed that goal. But that money won't be used for operating budget. It will free up some of the money that we currently use from our reserves to fund scholarships and things like that. So every dollar we get from graduate student stipends or undergraduate student research or student scholarship, undergraduate student scholarship, or funding for big moonshot type programs, we won't have to fund that centrally. So we made a bet on spending money. We overshot.
Yeah, and so in terms of that, I mentioned 97 days worth of cash on hand. That's the lowest in which the University of Arizona has been in almost 10 years. And the Regents chairman, that is a gentleman by the name of Fred Duvall, spoke about what must happen for the University of Arizona to attack this financial situation.
So I guess what I would want to convey about this, look, so much to applaud about mission success. I think that's a given, and do recognize that we appreciate that success. But that decline in cash on hand obviously is a wake-up call for all of us, and we know you get that. Our policy requires a plan, which we've talked about, and it sounds like you guys are beginning to formulate it. I want to communicate two things. The first is we've got your back on tough decisions. Given the 4-year decline, we can't have a fifth. So we understand, and I know you understand, we've got to turn this around. So please don't underclub this crisis. I mean, hit it. Turn this thing around. And if that means that we need to postpone the salary increases, if that means we need to look at retirement, these are tough choices with people we care about that are fundamental to the institution. This is the most fundamental piece of the institution. And so we will have your back on some of these hard choices. As to prioritization, just know that. Number two, and it was interesting that it was just sort of randomly, to some extent, teed up by President Crow's comments. We've been talking about changing the budget model for a long time, and we understand that is a tough piece of business. The urgency of getting control, of reclaiming dollars and getting control over more of your budget is more present than ever. And this is no longer a let's get to it, when we can. It is let's get to it now. We will take the heat with you. It is hard. You've got to have more optionality. You've got to have more tools in your chest. And you can't get there with the remnant legacy components of RCM. We know that. I think you know that. We also know it's hard work. But it has to happen, and it has to happen sooner rather than later. And we're expecting that to be part of the plan.
Yeah, that was Fred Duvall. He called this a wake-up call for the University of Arizona in terms of its finances. We're going to come back to this in the next hour. You'll hear from Dr. Robbins again on specifically what this potentially could mean for athletics. Okay, we'll get into that a little bit in the 5 o'clock hour. We won't have a lot of time to elaborate on it due to the fact that this is a shortened show today. You will also hear from Larry Penley, who's one of the regents, and he was very specific about what has to be done by the U of A. And I'll just tell you right now, hiring freeze, cuts to departments, whatever that means, money's got to come back from every department. And athletics is going to be one of those departments. People could lose their jobs. That's what this deficit comes down to for the University of Arizona. So we'll hear a little bit more about that in the 5 o'clock hour about how this potentially could affect athletics. 520-848-1290, 520-848-1290, getting you home every 20 minutes on the fives. We're going to talk to Kelvin Ifan next, but here's cricket.
From the O'Reilly Chevrolet Traffic Center, this is your Wildcats Radio 1290 traffic and weather together. With reported collisions, Ruthroff near I-10 reported on Ruthroff east of I-10. First Avenue south of Orange Grove, Ina and Thornydale, some westbound backups there, also flowing wells north of Miracle Mile. Also just dispatched Valencia and Houghton, 22nd Street and Columbus. Heavy backups for traffic on Alvernon between Fort Lowell and Speedway. Instead, try Columbus or Dodge Boulevard instead. More backups at Grant and Country Club for northbound and westbound traffic. Overnight, clear skies, 45, the low 74 and sunny tomorrow and 71 now. I'm Cricket with your Wildcats Radio 1290 traffic and weather together.
This report is sponsored by Taco Bell. OMG. Hot.
Radio 1290.
520-848-1290, 520-848-1290. We'll get back to our conversation about the fiscal situation involving the University of Arizona in the 5 o'clock hour. If you want to call and get involved on that conversation, if you have background on that, if you think that's going to affect you, if you work in a department where cuts are expected, give us a call, 520-848-1290. Again, we talk about everything on this show, folks. So we're a sports station. We also delve into news. That's what we do here, and that's what we will continue to do here. So we will give you all that we know about the finance, because this is not just an athletics thing. This is a university-wide thing, and the university is one of the biggest players here in Tucson. So we're going to cover it from that standpoint, both the news and the sports side of it. But let's talk some college basketball and college football with our captain, Kelvin Ifan. He joins us right now. And, Kelvin, it does not get bigger than this weekend coming up the next 2 days. I mean, starting Friday, you got basketball, Arizona and Duke on the hardwood, and then Saturday on the gridiron, University of Arizona in Colorado. This is going to be a fun weekend of basketball and football for this university.
Yeah, great weekend of basketball and football. Big time basketball game going on, and a football game that has a lot of importance as far as how big of a bowl game and where in the Pac-12 that the team can finish.
All right, let's start with basketball since that's coming up first. We didn't get a chance to talk to you after the game on Monday. Just your overall impressions of what you saw. 122-59 over Morgan State, highest scoring game this century for the Arizona Wildcats, and it was pretty balanced throughout the lineup.
Yeah, man, no, it was exciting to see those guys play, running up and down the court, throwing the alley-oops. The defensive pressure was just ridiculous. They could switch 1 through 4 easily and can guard their guys. The transfers that came in, I think, just are huge. Great team guys. Like I said before, met those guys this summer with the Tucson Youth Summer Pro League, and they were just great guys with me and with all the kids. So I'm not surprised that they're coming out as a unit the way that they are.
Break down what you mean when you say that they can guard 1 through 4.
Well, I mean, when you just think of, the guys in that starting lineup, when you're talking about Caleb Love and just every one of those guys could guard their man. They can get up, especially with these teams playing 4 out and 5 out, meaning that all their players are outside the three-point line, not really posting up, using their size against you. Arizona could just switch all those positions, the one through Pella Larson, Caleb Love, Boswell. All those guys could, anytime a guy tried to screen or interchange, they could just switch it out. And that just makes it tough for the defense to be able to get penetration or turn the corner to cause 2-on-1s.
Kelvin Ifan joining us, the captain, 1998, talking Arizona football and Arizona basketball. Kelvin, like the one thing I guess that worries me, I know we got some veteran guys on this team that have been into big environments like this, but obviously we've got some freshmen and some foreign freshmen who have never seen anything like what they're going to experience tomorrow night. I'm talking about Mateus Krivas and Paulius Morauskas specifically. That's my biggest concern is how those guys who have never walked into an environment like Cameron Indoor Stadium, how that's going to affect them. Do you remember anything like from your experience where you had young guys that had maybe never seen or been in that type of situation, and how you tried to get them to understand it and how they needed to handle it?
Yeah, a lot of times there's no way to get them to understand it. You can tell them about it and about how to get ready for the crowd and how to get ready for, not being overwhelmed by the stadium or the arena that you go to. But at the end of the day, it's something that you just have to go get in there and jump in feet first, head first, or however they say it. And so, but the biggest thing is you as a leader, you as one of the key guys on the team, you have to really do your part. In basketball, you're going to play 30 to 35 minutes in games like that. So the bench guys are going to be necessary, but it's really going to be on those starters, to me, to really get that thing going. So it's one of those things that where they have to follow that lead. So I just think Boswell, Love, Larson, Ballo, and Johnson have to set that example, and having a guy like Bradley coming off the bench, man, that should be enough, man. One of the big guys got to play decent enough just in case Ballo need a break or get in foul trouble. But I think that starting group should play significant minutes and should be able to put up a great fight.
You know, Kelvin, I talked about this earlier in the week. Me and J-Dub did, and I want to get your thoughts on this. We've talked before about, football preparation for that hostile environment. How, coaches will turn up the sound and blare music during practice, and Coach Tomey would turn on the sprinklers to try to get you ready for Oregon and stuff like that. Did Coach Olson ever do anything like that in basketball to get you ready for an environment? Like, did you walk into the gym one day and it was just like, manic crowd noise while you're trying to go through your drills? Is it the same type of preparation type scheme on offense? On a preparation scheme for basketball like we see in football for hostile environments?
Well, we got to realize, I know you realize, but I have to say this. When I came to U of A, Arizona was just coming off a Final Four. If people out there know Coach Olson, he is the standard. He is the standard. The way he told us, to carry ourselves in the way that, we were playing for championships. We were trying to get to the NCAA and get to a championship. So I never heard Coach really talk about an atmosphere of any place that we went to. I think he believed that McKale Center was the most hostile environment for the rest of the fans that we had to play against. But I just never remember him really giving anybody that much credit. I'm not going to lie to you.
K-Rock, the only guy we really haven't talked about is your guy, KJ Lewis. And we all knew coming in how athletic is going to be, the size, the muscle, and all that. But I've just been blown away by the skill level. We all knew the motor. I knew you talked a lot about him coming through. You've seen a lot of his game. Seeing him out there on the court and just how much he takes defense so seriously for such a young player. Just tell me a little bit about KJ and what fans out there should expect from him through this freshman season and beyond.
Man, that's why I love you, J-Dub, because I forgot him when I was talking about the 6'7". That's that 7 guy. He's legit 6'6". He's legit 215 pounds. He's a guy that's from El Paso, lived in Tucson for a while, but lived in El Paso during high school, but went and played in Dallas his senior year for the Duncanville Panthers out there. And if anybody knows, they were like 40-0 national champs. And his year, I think they lost in the semifinals or whatever. But the kid has played top competition his whole life, especially that senior year club ball. He played on the EYBL. So this is a guy that comes in, and as you watch him play, he's not going to get lost out there with other good players. Yeah. He understands the effort that's needed to be a great player.
We were trying to break down, DK and I, maybe 2-3 weeks ago before the season started on paper, who that right rotation might be. And KJ was the kind of guy we weren't really sure about. But seeing him out there, he seems like that kind of guy to me, K-Rock, who just doesn't need any kind of plays. He's just going to be a menace on defense, really solid rebounder for his position, and just overall impactful on the game. I think he had 4 rebounds, 4 steals, 5. Just all filling the stat sheet in such a limited amount of time. Guys just all over the place as far as, someone who's just going to do team first, play team first the whole way with huge amount of energy.
Yeah, that's exactly right. He played on the again with the Duncanville team with the National Player of the Year on that team there. So he's a guy that understands how to play with other great players. That's what I was alluding to when I was speaking earlier. He understands how to get in where he fit in. I'd never seen him run a play for him at Duncanville High School. When he was at El Paso, the team was built around him, but he went to Duncanville because he understood to play at the next level, you got to understand how to play with other great players and sometimes how to get in where you fit in as a freshman. So, now it's great to see him coming in and making that type of impact. And he's a guy that can guard, again, 1 through 4 because of his size and his experience in competition he's played.
All right, Kelvin Ifan joining us, the captain in 1998. Let's flip it over to the football side and what we've got on Saturday in Boulder. It's going to be an exciting game. Coach Prime, obviously, has taken a lot of the spotlight of the Pac-12. His son, Shadir Sanders, one of the better quarterbacks in this league. But, man, Shadir has taken a lot of hits this season. I think if you're the Arizona Wildcats, you really defensively want to try to get to him early, put him on his backside, and get that in his mind right away.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. When I watch him play, he seems to get a little uncomfortable and jittery when guys get around him. And that's not, a knock on him. That's any quarterback, that's getting hit over and over and over again and getting pressured. They're just trying to figure out something. But I think that's going to be important for Arizona to do, to really get after him with some heat. So he don't get back there and get comfortable, because when he's comfortable, he has the weapons to be able to get the ball to him, and those guys are as they've shown, are dangerous and can score touchdowns.
It's interesting, Kelvin. This is a defense in Colorado. They are very good at taking the ball away. Jed Fish talked today about how they like to jump a lot of routes. They like to take chances defensively. How can this Wildcat offense maybe take advantage of that aggressiveness and use it to their advantage?
Well, that's when you bring in the double moves. I mean, the advantage of playing this late in the season is that you know what they're doing. Early in the year, they jumped a lot of routes because teams didn't understand how aggressive they were going to play, and I understand they have to do that, honestly. And I was wanting the Wildcats to do that even in the past, because I was like, we didn't have the pass rush, so you have to take some chances to make some plays. That's what to me, big time players do. You take some chances so you don't just sit there and let people march down the field. But Arizona understands that, and all you have to do is do some out and ups, some hesitation and goals. You can run through the middle with the tight end and have them stop. They jump the route and he take back off down the seam. You can hit them. Everybody understands the wheel routes with the running backs and the slot receivers. So it's different little routes that you can do to take advantage of them. And, that's one thing about Noah. He's shown to be very clever. So I'm excited to see how he handles that.
All right, Kelvin, we will busy 2 days coming up. We will talk to you tomorrow, and we will talk to you early Saturday morning. Basketball, hoops tomorrow, Arizona Duke, and gridiron football on Saturday with Colorado and Arizona. Appreciate you, Kelvin.
Yes, sir. Right down, guys.
Kelvin Efon, the captain from 1998. We will chat with him again. Busy 48 hours coming up, but 48 hours we'll kind of be on the tail end of it, of these two historic matchups between the Arizona Wildcats and the Duke Blue Devils in hoops, and Arizona and Colorado in basketball football. It's going to be a fun next 2 days. To be an Arizona Wildcat fan.
Can't wait.
Yeah, absolutely. This is the fun part of it. The not so fun part of it was what we were talking about at the top of this hour, and the financial challenges that are facing this university. And it's not unique to the University of Arizona. There are a lot of schools that are facing financial challenges coming out of the pandemic and trying to get back on their feet and get back operational. Arizona is not alone in this situation. They are just one of many schools that is dealing, and you'll hear from the president of the university, Dr. Robert C. Robbins, coming up about one or two other schools that are dealing with the same financial challenges that the University of Arizona is, and how that's affecting their athletic programs. Getting you home, though, every 20 minutes on the fives with your traffic and your weather. Here's Cricket.
From the O'Reilly Chevrolet Traffic Center, it's Wildcats Radio 1290 traffic and weather together. Slowdowns both directions on Alvernon approaching Grant Road. Pretty significant backups due to road work. Use Columbus or Dodge or Country Club instead. Crashes reported Route Rough east of I-10, Valencia east of Houghton, 22nd Street, and Columbus. 45 are low with clear skies, 74 sunny tomorrow, and now 70. I'm Cricket with your Wildcats Radio 1290 traffic and weather together.
This report is sponsored by Taco Bell. OMG, hot and crisp nacho fries are back, and there's even more fries to love now at Taco Bell. But it's now or never. Yeah, these fries covered in bold Mexican spices with nacho.
done. At Grainger, we're here for you with professional-grade industrial supplies. Count on real-time product availability and fast delivery. Call, clickgrainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
The roar of our engines, the pump of our heartbeats, the pedal to our metal, the sparks that ignite us, the pistons that push us, the passions that drive us. From the feelings that move us to the places that pull us on the roads that unite us. With nearly 6,000 stores and over 17,000 auto care centers, Napa has America's largest network of parts and care, here to keep you firing on all cylinders.
When the Arizona Wildcats take the field at Arizona Stadium this fall, you'll hear all the action of Wildcats football with Brian Jeffries behind the mic on your home of the Arizona Wildcats. We are Wildcats Radio 1290.
Did you know that feeling sluggish or weighed down could be signs that your digestive system isn't working at its best? But taking Metamucil every day can help. Metamucil supports your daily digestive health using a special plant-based fiber called psyllium. Psyllium works by forming a gel in your digestive system to trap and remove the waste that weighs you down. Metamucil's gelling action also helps to promote heart health and slows down sugar absorption to promote healthy blood sugar levels. Start feeling lighter and more energetic by taking Metamucil every day.
He's kind and he's funny and he's also mustachioed. He solves all your problems by the end of every episode. TV Dad. Everyone loves TV Dad. TV Dad. Unlike your real dad, he never hollers. And he tells you how Progressive can save you lots of dollars.
Listen to your TV Dad. Switch to Progressive and you could save hundreds. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and affiliates. Potential savings will vary.
DK on the Sports Tip on Wildcats Radio 1290.
All right, and let's right now we're going to give you our the newest thing that we do every day. It is the Desert Diamond Casino replay coming up for you, and we are going to have a chance today to talk to Steve Weiseman. Steve Weiseman is a writer for the Raleigh News and Observer, and he covers the Duke Blue Devils, and the Duke Blue Devils will be taking on the Arizona Wildcats coming up here on Friday. And so let's, we want to give you an opportunity to hear from the other side and about what is going on. And so let's start that now and hear from Steve Weiseman.
And now, the best thing you will hear all day.
Hachi-machi!
It's time for the Wildcat Radio Replay. In case you missed this earlier in the day, we now bring you the best of 1290. It's made possible by Desert Diamond Sportsbook, Arizona's best bet.
All right, let's talk some Arizona Duke basketball. Pleased to be joined by Steve Weiseman. He writes about the Duke Blue Devils for the Raleigh News and Observer. Arizona and Duke renewing, I guess you could call it a rivalry because these two teams have had a lot of success in college basketball. First of all, kind of, Steve, this game obviously means a lot to Arizona fans. There was 2001 when the Duke Blue Devils beat the Wildcats in the national championship game. There were some meetings across the years. Duke's obviously illustrious history in this game. What does this game mean, though, to the fans down in Blue Devil land?
Yeah, I have to say there's more buzz around this game than I can remember any other non-UNC game for Duke for a while. Just because, and I've been around here since 2010, so just because it's an early season game, it's another top program coming to Cameron, which is something that, Coach K, in the last couple of decades of his tenure, kind of got away from playing these kind of games where they do a home and home outside of the ACC SEC challenge or something to that effect. Did a lot of neutral site games with big teams, but not where they're playing on home courts. And so the fan base is excited. The season ticket holders love it because they're getting to see another big program come into Cameron that's not an ACC team. So there's just a lot of buzz around this game.
Obviously, this is a new era of Duke Blue Devil basketball. John Shire has taken over for Coach Mike Krzyzewski. How is his system different than what we saw for the 32 years and over 1,100 wins of Coach K?
Yeah, I mean, in a lot of ways it needs to be the same because that worked, and that's who he learned from. He played for Coach K and was an assistant for 8 years and all that stuff. So they do a lot of the same things. They love to play man-to-man defense, get in your face, that kind of stuff. The pressure that way, 5-out, offense, motion offense, that kind of stuff. But there are some wrinkles that John puts in, whereas he's not afraid to switch up defenses on the regular, and he kind of calls it throwing a curveball at the opposition, where maybe they'll come down, and face a 2-3 zone for a few possessions, and then maybe back to the man-to-man or whatever, or I'll throw a zone out if other team's guards are getting a lot of penetration, just to kind of slow down the process. So that's one thing I've noticed that John's quicker to do maybe than Coach K was.
Steve, super sophomore Kyle Filipowski had 25-7 in the opener. We've seen him on a lot of All-American lists, Player of the Year candidate coming in. What should Arizona fans know about Mr. Filipowski? What are his strengths? Maybe what are some things that coaches would like him to work on a little bit in his sophomore year?
Yeah, he can score from all three zones, as they say, and he only hit 28% of his 3-pointers last year. So I know that's one thing they're working on with him, is to get that area of his game better before he goes to the NBA next year, because he's going to need to make those shots at the next level. But he is capable of hitting shots from out there, and we'll take them. And his passing ability for a guy of his size, the offense can run through him rather than being the destination. He can get the ball in the middle if they're facing a zone, for instance, and kick it back out, or even even in man-to-mans where he gets the ball inside and people collapse on him. He's quick to kick that ball back out for an open three. His court vision is really strong, and he's a good rebounder as well, obviously at 7 feet tall. So he plays all over the court. He's not a guy that just sits in the paint and waits for things to happen.
And as always, Duke brought in one of the top classes in the country. They do that year in and year out. How deep does Coach Shire want to go in his rotation? Is he the kind of guy who's trying to go 7-8 deep, or is he trying to mix in some of the younger guys as much as possible and maybe go as deep into that bench as possible?
Yeah, and this is going to be a deep team, I think. And every year in November we say that, Duke's going to go 10 or 11 deep, total, and it ends up being 7 or 8. But I think at this point he's got so many good guards, in particular, with this class. And Jared McCain, Duke returned 4 starters from last year, right? Roach, Filipowski, Mitchell, and Proctor, and so Jared McCain started against Dartmouth in the opener and got into some foul trouble. So they brought in Caleb Foster, almost a Caleb Love. Caleb Foster, a freshman. We'll get to Caleb Love in a minute, right?
Sure.
But Caleb Foster came in, played really well, scored 15 points. Jalen Blake's a junior who's got a couple starts last year. He came in and played quite a bit. So I know they're going to do. They're going to have five guards kind of rotating in and out of there. That they're going to go deep there, and then Mark Mitchell didn't play against Dartmouth. Ryan Young played a lot at center. He's the guy who's going to get 20 minutes a game at least. So they're looking at going probably at least four deep on the bench, so 9 guys in the rotation.
Steve Wiseman from the Raleigh News-Observer is our guest. He writes about the Duke Blue Devils. You mentioned Caleb Love. I would imagine he's going to get a tremendous ovation when he walks into Cameron Indoor Stadium Friday night.
He will get a welcome. I don't know if it'll be an ovation, but maybe for the fact that he told Carolina that he had enough of them and wanted to go play somewhere else. Maybe the Duke fans will appreciate that. Who knows, right? But there's a lot of talk back here. Maybe Caleb was the reason Carolina had the kind of season they did last year. So you think maybe the Cameron Crazies would appreciate that, right? If you're a Duke fan, you appreciate Carolina not doing well. But really, honestly, Caleb made so many big shots. He's made so many big shots in Cameron Indoor Stadium against Duke. In the Final Four, he made that 3-pointer late over Mark Williams' outstretched arm to kind of seal that win to end Coach K's career, which is an iconic moment now in Carolina basketball history. So he has a lot of history with this team. They know him. He knows them. And it's really going to be fun to have him back in the building one more time.
Speaking of history, when I was a young lad, I was at the 1991 game in McHale Center that went double overtime versus Coach K's Blue Devils. That was the one with the infamous clock issue, and Coach K said he would not play again. That was at the end of a 4-season home and home. Since then, they've obviously played in the finals of the Maui Invitational. They played in the NIT championship. They also played in the NCAA championship. How excited, in average, you mentioned that the Cameron Crazies are really excited about seeing Arizona come. Do you get the sense that a lot of the fans are excited about renewing a home-and-home rivalry and would like to see this continue beyond these 2 years?
Yeah, I really think I do because, again, it's another, marquee program, and it's somebody you measure yourself against. And, Duke does these things. The Champions Classic every year is in an NBA arena. They always play another game in Madison Square Garden because they have so many fans up in that part of the country. In New York, in December, they're going to play Baylor this year up there. So that's another neutral site game. Those are exciting games on the non-conference schedule, but you need more of these in your building. And taking your team next year when Duke goes to McHale Center, they go on the road and do that. So those are the kind of games that gets people's blood's pumping in the non-conference year when you're paying for a season ticket and you get to see Arizona come into your building. That's what you want to see. So I definitely think people do want to get this going again, maybe beyond this contract if it can happen.
Steve Wiseman, Raleigh News Observer, our guest, talking Duke and Arizona. And Steve, when you look at this particular game, obviously these are two teams that exited out of the NCAA tournament a little sooner than they would have liked to last year. How did Duke handle that? I mean, obviously, the Blue Devils got beat by a higher seed, but how did they take that loss to Tennessee to kind of galvanize what they wanted to do and improve coming into this season?
Yeah, it really spurred some of the decisions guys made in the offseason to come back and play another year because Filipowski could have gone to the NBA. Proctor could have gone to the NBA. They had first-round grades from the assessment. So, but they felt they had some unfinished business, and going out in the second round to Tennessee, and the way they lost that game, Tennessee really kind of bullied them, and they were a much more physical team, and Duke just never had control of that game at all. And these guys spend a lot of time in the off season in the weight room thinking about Tennessee, right? They're not going to play them again unless it's in the tournament, but just so they would never be the team again that would be on their heels physically. And so that's really sparked them in the off season, and that's why they have 4 starters back from last year's team, because normally that's not what you talk about with the Duke basketball team.
Well, you mentioned not playing Tennessee. Obviously, realignment in college athletics is affecting our university out here with Arizona going to the Big 12. You've got a couple Pac-12 schools that are going to be headed down to the ACC. How is Blue Devil Nation kind of looking at all of that?
Yeah, with a skeptical eye, to be honest with you. Like many of us, it's having the Atlantic Coast Conference going coast to coast is a little different, but these decisions aren't made for basketball; they're made for football. And the 3 teams that are coming in, SMU, Stanford, and Cal, aren't known for being basketball programs, right? They haven't accomplished a whole lot in recent years at all. And so, from the basketball people in the ACC, kind of look at that with kind of not happy about it, because it's not really going to help the ACC in basketball. And really, it'll help in football in some ways, but which will make the conference stronger. But from a pure basketball standpoint, which is what the ACC was built on basketball, right? And that's not the modern world of college athletics, but that's where we are. But a little disappointed to be having to bring in teams that maybe will hurt the net rating of the conference instead of building it up stronger.
Well, Duke's a football school like Arizona now, right?
Yeah, they're going to a bowl game again this year. So, been in the top 25 a lot. Yeah.
I just have one last question, Mr. Wiseman. Is there a statue of Cooper Flagg up yet in front of your famous building out there?
There is not, but there's always a chance. I'm sure. The Cameron Crazies are out there in their tents already, right? They're out camping out for tickets to games and everything. So they have free time on their hands doing that when they're not, studying to invent cures to cancer or whatever the heck they do. But so maybe they'll create one for when Cooper comes back here. It's funny, today we had a press conference with Shire and asked him about Cooper because he's actually signed now, right? But he still wouldn't talk about him yet. He said, "I'm gonna wait till all the NLIs come in before I talk about any of them." But obviously, he wanted to talk about Cooper Flagg as soon as he can.
Yeah, it's so tough to put so much pressure on a player who's not even in college. And obviously, we're talking about the game tomorrow. That's the important thing. However, Cooper Flagg's had so much press these days. I just know that the people down there in Durham are super happy that he committed and signed.
No question about it. That was one thing that people talked about. The Duke was a leader for him for a while. Duke was his dream school. But until you see the guy commit and then actually sign, you never know for sure, right, if it's going to happen. But it really galvanized the fact that Shire's really doing the job he was hired to do, right? To continue on the work that Coach K has done, and this will be 3 years in a row where he's got a top rated class.
All right, Steve. Hey, we appreciate you taking a few minutes to join us. Enjoy the game tomorrow night.
Very good. Thanks for having me on, guys.
Steve Wiseman, he is the Duke Blue Devils writer for the Raleigh News Observer.
That was the Wildcat Radio Replay with the best of the best from 1290. It's brought to you by Desert Diamond Sportsbook, Arizona's best bet.
All right, don't forget our coverage begins at 1 o'clock tomorrow. 1 o'clock, we will be on the air. We'll take you from 1 to 4 o'clock. Network coverage at 4, then at 5, tip-off Arizona and Duke, the 12th-ranked Wildcats, against the number 2 Blue Devils from Cameron Indoor Stadium in Durham, North Carolina. All right, top of the hour, we're going to come back. We're going to let you hear more from President Robert C. Robbins of the University of Arizona, specifically about how this financial quagmire that the university is in could affect athletics, what it really means for athletics, as well as you'll hear from Regent Larry Penley about essentially what the university has to do to get out of this mess. And it's not pretty. It's not pretty what has to happen for Arizona to get itself right financially. DK on the Sports Tip, J-Dub, and Cricket. I'm David Kelly. You're listening to Wildcats Radio 1290.
From the O'Reilly Chevrolet Traffic Center, it's Wildcats Radio 1290 traffic and weather together. With reported collisions, Rancho Cerrito Boulevard and Sahuarita Road, a hit-and-run wreck. Valencia east of I-19, Valencia and Santa Clara with some eastbound backups. Also clearing 6th Street and Euclid, Pima west of Wilmot and Ruthrop to the east of I-10, Valencia east of Houghton. Also backups both directions on Alvernon approaching Grant Road due to road work. You could use Columbus, Dodge, or maybe Country Club instead. And weather-wise, with clear skies overnight, 45 the low, 74 sunny tomorrow, and 70 now. I'm Cricket with your Wildcats Radio 1290 traffic and weather together.
This report is sponsored by Generator Franchise.
CNWT.
From the what? Central Northwest Tucson, duh.
It's DK on the Sports Tip with your host, David Kelly.
Radio. Just when I thought I was out, they drug me back in.
Featuring J.W. Madden.
Don't tell me about flip-flops, man. I'm a native.
And Cricket getting you home with traffic and weather.
Camp on Melt Lemon, not in the left lane on the freeway.
Here we go! And now, a man who has not one, but 3 first names, David Scott Kelly.
30 minutes to go today, taking you right up to the National Football League. Thursday Night Football right here every Thursday on Wildcats Radio 1290. Tonight, it's the Carolina Panthers and the Chicago Bears. 2 teams that are not having good seasons. So if you're a Bears fan, I want to hear from you today. What's it going to take to get these Bears right? 520-848-1290. The Bears are 2-7. The Panthers are 1-7. Bryce Young, the rookie quarterback for the Carolina Panthers, 1,300 yards plus passing, 8 touchdowns, 7 interceptions, and I'm not even sure who it is. Is the young man still the Bear? The Bears quarterback got knocked out, if I'm not mistaken. Justin Fields, or is he playing tonight? I know that he was hurt. Justin Fields this season, 11 touchdowns and 6 interceptions. If he doesn't go, it's Tyson Bagent. I don't even know how to pronounce that.
Nailed it.
Yeah, he's got 3 touchdowns and 6 interceptions. Not good. Not good at all.
I bet you there are
that's a dog of a game right there.
But there's a ton of Chicago Bears fans in town who could call in.
Oh, there is. There's lots. There's lots. 520-848-1290. 520-848-1290. All right, our question of the day. Outside of ASU, I don't even think we gave you this yet, so I got to give it to you now. But there's a lot of votes on it. I mean, a ton. Outside of ASU and UCLA, who is the Arizona Wildcats' biggest rival in men's basketball? 4 choices here. Well, actually 3 and an other, as we like to do. Duke, Kansas, Oregon, or other. Who is the Wildcats' biggest rival in men's basketball outside of ASU and UCLA? Because we know, obviously, that Arizona State is the biggest rival. UCLA, probably in basketball, even bigger than Arizona State. We'll continue to play ASU annually going to the Big 12. We will not see UCLA. Hopefully we will if they can get that worked out. Duke, Kansas, Oregon, or other. Right now, 41%. This is a little surprising. 41% saying Oregon is the Arizona Wildcats' biggest rival in men's basketball outside of Duke and Kansas.
This morning, what I said was maybe Stanford, Washington, Oregon as options. And here's the thing. 30 years ago, it was Stanford.
Okay.
20 years ago, 15, it was Washington. And the last 10 years, it's been Oregon. There have been different eras where different teams from the Pac-12, Pac-10 back in those days, have been Arizona's chief in-conference basketball rival outside of UCLA. It's what's it called? Recency bias. So the fact that Oregon has been the chief rival for Arizona in basketball in the last 10 years, Washington has had ups and downs, obviously. That's going to be why the poll looks like that. I think it's more recent, and historically, all of them have been rivals at times. Some of those programs are just a little bit down right now.
All right. That's interesting. So you can vote right now. Head on over to our Twitter account at Wildcats1290. That'll be up for another 21 hours or so. So we'll wrap that up tomorrow during our Arizona tip-off, our Meridian North Management Arizona Game Day tip-off show, which starts at 1 o'clock tomorrow. All right. Want to remind you, this Friday, we've got a sweet deal for you from the Dugout Sports Bar and Grill. You can get a $50 gift certificate for just $25. How about that? A $50 gift certificate for half the money, $25. This sweet deal will go on sale tomorrow morning, Friday morning at 8:30 over at WildcatsRadio1290.com. The Dugout is the newest sports bar in Tucson. It's a great place. They've done some awesome remodeling of it. They still got the batting cages over there, arcade, pool tables, darts, amazing food with a full bar and daily specials. Located in my old neighborhood over on the east side, 22nd Street, east of Swan, and just on the south side of the block. That is the Dugout Sports Bar, a sweet deal coming up for you tomorrow morning starting at 8:30. Head on over to ArizonaWildcats.com. All right, wanted you to hear, we're talking about the financial situation that is facing the University of Arizona. They only have about 97 days worth of cash remaining. That's not where you want to be. It's the lowest cash on hand for the University of Arizona in 10 years. And so there was a board meeting. Arizona Regents, Board of Regents met last week, and the president of the university, Dr. Robert C. Robbins, spoke on this issue. You heard a little bit from him in the 4 o'clock hour, but I want you to hear from him on what this actually means for athletics.
I think that athletics is a very difficult problem. I have plans for almost everything, and athletics is really a tough one, given what's going on right now. I mean, even the Ohio State University had to borrow $50 million from the university to fund athletics. And we've been talking to Morgan and President Crow about how they're going to deal with it. I don't know of an athletic department in this country that's not losing money. The difference is we've never funded athletics out of the university. It's been what I would call a formula auxiliary unit that floated it on its own bottom, and now that's not sustainable. So I think you're seeing more universities starting to fund athletics, which is not something that we've ever done. And we've done it through internal loans, which came out of our days cash on hand, with the great promise. And we're always optimistic that the Big 12 is going to be the solution. It's not. So we've got to figure the athletics side out as well. And in places like Texas and Ohio State, well, they can just flow money over because they've got money. One of the big parts of the philanthropic campaign will be focused on student scholarships, graduate stipends, funding, strategic funding of these big ideas, but also the arts and athletics, because I think we've underperformed on fundraising for athletics.
Yeah, but you're going to a bowl, right?
Don't jinx us.
No
We got 2 more wins. We only got 5 games.
Can we get a snapshot of the current state of athletics so that we are better schooled to maybe provide some stimulus here in terms of where we need to inject some harm?
Well, I think, I can just speak for us, but as I said, I stand by my statement. Show me an athletic department that's making money.
Yeah.
All right. So it's a universal thing. At Oregon, they've got Phil Knight.
But that's not good enough, because we have to create something that stops the hemorrhaging here.
Yes,
we should be in a panic mode in regard to this.
As I always say, and I've said it many times here, all bleeding stops eventually. It's a basic tenet of cardiac surgery. But so what I would say is, I mean, we're going deep into this, and do we cut sports?
God, no. Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
Oh boy, do we cut sports? Some levity there, at least from Dr. Robbins. The heart surgeon. All bleeding stops eventually. I mean, you could be dead when the bleeding stops, but the bleeding stops eventually. All right, that was Dr. Robbins, and at the end he said, "Do we cut sports?" That's not what anybody wants to hear, especially after you just added a program in triathlon. You don't want to be talking about cutting sports, but here's Regent Larry Penley and what he had to say. I want you to hear this part about what he had to say has to be done by the University of Arizona.
President Robbins, I appreciate very much what you and Lisa Rolney have described. You've laid this out clearly to the board, as ugly as it looks, and you've addressed the fact that actions are going to have to be taken, like the ones that Regent Duvall talked about. But it strikes me, and having been through budget issues, both here at ASU when I was here years and years ago, and also at Colorado State, I'm somewhat familiar with the plight that you're in. But it strikes me that you've got some immediate actions that have to be taken in the next 60 days. You're going to have to cut salaries, withhold salaries, or whatever you have to do to reclaim money from the units. You're going to have to, I believe, force a reclaim of budget on your units, on your colleges, of some percentage amount. It's like the old legislative budget cuts that we used to get here in the state in the 80s and early 90s, when the legislature said, well, we're going to take 10% of your budget back. I'm afraid you all are going to have to turn to each of your colleges and say, we're going to have to take some percentage of your budget back, and you're going to have to either terminate people, stop purchasing, or doing something else. And I've done all those things. Clearly, you're going to have a hiring pause, unless there's absolutely a necessity. But then you've got some longer range actions that I think are absolutely essential. And you've addressed them with your comments about activity-informed budgeting. It has to be junked. You have a centralized budgeting program that has to be put in place immediately. You have also, based on your admissions and your use of scholarship money, overspent on that, as you all have admitted. Complete remodeling of the scholarship financial aid issue has to occur before this gets underway next year. So there's both immediate actions that this board must have, in my view. Obviously, I'm speaking for myself, not the board, but there's also some longer run ones that you're going to have to take. You all have alluded to all of those that I have just stated, but I have to say that having been in your roles, this is really tough. And I don't mean to suggest it's easy. It's really, really tough because this is going to hurt the university and hurt the faculty and staff to really do what is necessary to reach the minimum policy required days on hand of cash that you must have. I wish it were otherwise, because I love the strategic initiatives that you've undertaken. I love the progress that you've made in so very many ways. But this is a serious, and I think Regent Duvall used the word crisis, and it is a serious crisis that we confront as a board, and you confront. And like I said, I've been in your roles, not your role, but your role. And I know how bad this is and how awful it is to take the actions that are so necessary. So I have both empathy for you and regret that those actions must be taken.
All right, I'm not sure on like how many days of cash on hand the university needs to have, what Regent Penley said there. I'll just tell you that in 2001 they had 173, and that went down to 149 in 2022, and now 110 to begin this year. Now they're down to 97. 97 is not where you want to be, and as you heard Regent Penley said, U of A is going to have to cut salaries. They're going to have to reclaim budgets from departments. That means they might have to cut, like athletics might have to cut 10% of its budget. They've got to stop spending. They cannot hire people, and they might have to fire people. Okay, that's what the University of Arizona is facing right now, and this trickles down to all departments, including athletics. All right, we'll get more into that maybe tomorrow, next week for sure. We'll see if we can get some people on to kind of go over what the university is facing in that respect. Joined by the third member of our program, Cricket is with us. And Cricket, I saw some things on the copy machine that I think I liked.
Yeah.
They're starting to shut down streets.
Oh, for your show. Did you get your tickets?
I did.
Yay, I'm so happy.
Who came through for the big man? How about my guy Pork Chop coming through for the big man right there to see to go over to the Dusk Music Festival to see my guy Seven Lions. Have you ever heard any Seven Lions? Let me give you some Seven Lions here. How about we give you that here a little bit? Yeah. This is a collab, because you know that's what happens in music now. You collab. He did a collab with my favorite group, which is Above and Beyond.
Okay.
Yeah, there's no swearing. There's no swearing in house music. Come on, J-Dub.
I didn't say that. I was saying that, whispering that to you.
Is the happiest
I just want to make
music on
sure
the
because I'm not previewing this stuff.
It's the happiest music on the planet. Let me fast forward to the drop.
My
here.
job is to make sure no bad words go on the air. That's all I'm saying.
This is what we call the drop coming up here. You ready for the drop? You know about the drop, don't you?
The beat's
Cricket?
coming. Yeah.
I'll shut my eyes and hold you close. You're all I needed. I never want to see the end.
Drop. Yeah. 7 Lions coming to town.
Is it going to be like a rave or what?
It's
Kind of ish?
it's a mix of indie rock and EDM. Yeah, so it's going to be there'll be EDM groups there. There's several EDM, although I guess DJ Snake decided not to show up, so he's not coming.
Do you have like glow sticks and like all that stuff?
I don't mess around with the glow sticks. I just go for the music. I'm not like dressing up in all the costumes like the younger people do and all of that.
Gotcha.
But
I'm glad you got tickets.
Yes. Chop's got tickets.
Yes.
How about
indeed.
that?
Yep.
Chop's got tickets. I like that. All right. We're going to take you home now every 20 minutes on the fives. Michael Lev coming up next. We'll see if he knows anything about house music. No, I don't think he does. All right. Here's Cricket.
From the O'Reilly Chevrolet Traffic Center, it's Wildcats Radio 1290 Traffic and Weather together. Reported collision 6th and Euclid in 6th Street, Valencia east of I-19, also Pima west of Wilmot. Backups for Mission and Ajo Way, southbound La Choya at Ajo, and also some heavy slowing on eastbound Valencia at Old Vale Road. 45 the low, clear skies, 74 sunny tomorrow, and 70 now. I'm Cricket with your Wildcats Radio 1290 Traffic and Weather together.
Arizona Insiders.
Am I late?
No, my boy, you're just in time.
Each weekday, Wildcats Radio 1290 brings you all the latest news and opinions on U of A football and the Pac-12. So bear down, Tucson, and let's talk Arizona football. Our Arizona Insiders are brought to you by Coors Light, official corporate sponsors of Arizona Athletics. There's nothing like game day in Arizona.
All right, head coach Jed Fish today was asked about the financial quagmire that is facing the University of Arizona as a whole. Here's what he had to say.
Yeah, right now, I got to tell you, I'm concentrating on beating Colorado. I clearly know and have heard and read some of those articles, but our focus is let's just keep trying to win games and let's get to 7-3.
All right, the man that asked Jed Fish that question is none other than Arizona Daily Star columnist. I keep wanting to say beat writer, but he is now a columnist for the Arizona Daily Star. His name is Michael Lev, and he joins us right now. And Michael, good question, because that was one of the ones I had on my list today to see what the head coach had to say, because right now we're in such a good place with this football program that the last thing you want to do is take steps back in terms of investing in this football operation. But that could be among the things that has to happen if budget cuts across the board in every department are on the horizon.
Yeah, it's definitely a worrisome development if you are a fan of the football program or really any program. The financial reality doesn't look good at the moment. Specifically as it pertains to football, where it could hurt Arizona is in retaining coaches, even including Jed Fish himself. If Jed's doing really well this year, obviously, there are always openings, there are always opportunities. If he were to get an offer from, let's say, someone in the Big Ten, a school that could offer significantly more money, Arizona might not be able to match it, and they could lose Jed Fish. Or, it could be, some of his assistant coaches who get better offers elsewhere, and Jed goes to the administration, and maybe they just throw their hands up and say, we don't have the money. Sorry, and that's not a positive development for that relationship either. Between Jed and the administration. This is all, still somewhat hypothetical. EK, we don't know exactly how bad things are. And we don't know exactly what the role of the athletic department is in all of this, but those are some of the concerns I would have right now if I was a U of A football fan.
Yeah, absolutely. Michael Lev joining us, Arizona Daily Star. Let's talk about some of the good stuff that's happening with this program and where Jed Fish has taken it here in such a short period of time, getting back to bowl eligibility. I'll be honest with you, Michael. I did not. I thought that he would go back to Jaden DeLaura. I'm a little bit surprised, although the fan base clearly didn't think he should. I thought that he would. Where did you think eventually this thing would play out with the quarterback position?
Yeah, very interesting that you bring that up, because Jed himself was he never really verbally committed to Noah, and really still hasn't. I asked him about it a couple weeks ago, and he was just like, yeah, they're both practicing, and they both have these records, and you tell him at 7:35 who's playing. I didn't really buy much of that when he said it, because, we can see with our own eyes, right, what the situation is. And what happened was, I think Noah just played so well that Jed couldn't go back to Jaden. How can I bench this guy?
Yeah.
He's playing so clean, so solid, right? Not that there's not a ton of spectacular moments, but do they really need spectacular when the rest of the roster is in such good shape? That's the thing. It's like if you needed a quarterback to carry the team, let's say Texas Tech back in the day with Patrick Mahomes. He kind of had to do everything, and you don't have to do that right now with Arizona football because they built up the lines and they have great skill position players, and the defense is really good. And you need someone who can smartly manage the game. And Noah Fafita has done a really good job of that very thing.
One of the things I've said is you really got to throw you some kudos to Johnny Nansen and just kind of the way he's adapted this defense this season. And Jed talked about that today, that how they've really gone into a game planning situation where they're just changing it up based on, the opponent that they have for that particular week. And it's worked perfectly for this defense to continue to play at a high level. And you brought it up how they moved Martell Irby to a linebacker position in the last game to try to accomplish what they wanted to get done defensively.
Yeah, it's been really interesting to see how he's gone about doing this. When Don Brown was here in 2021, they had a lot of defensive packages, maybe too many. And they'd use a lot of them every week. And it created a lot of confusion for Arizona. You remember, DK, there was guys always running on and off the field, and they'd get penalties for, having too many men or not getting off in time, et cetera, et cetera. Johnny has multiple defensive packages, but he doesn't overdo it. They've got the dollar, and they use that flex look 1 week, and they went to this kind of, I guess what you call a dime package this past week, and maybe we'll see that again against a passing-oriented Colorado team. But he's thrown it's like he's got the perfect blend, just enough, wrinkles and curveballs thrown at the opponent, but also keeping it simple enough for his players to play fast and execute what he's asking them to do.
Real quick, I got about 30 seconds, Michael. Your first year as a columnist, you're going to both Durham and Boulder, right?
No, I am not. No, the budget issues are not exclusive to University of Arizona. So no, I will be taking both of those games at home. But we do have people on the ground. We have multiple people actually in Durham, and Justin Spears, my colleague, will be in Boulder this weekend.
All right. I thought you would get at least one of those trips, but maybe next time, Michael. Hey, we thank you. We appreciate you taking a few minutes to join us, and best of luck the rest of the way.
Hey, thanks, you too.
All right, Michael Labb from the Arizona Daily Star.
Thanks to Coors Light for bringing you today's Arizona Insiders on Wildcats Radio 1290. Coors Light, official corporate sponsors of Arizona Athletics. There's nothing like game day in Arizona.
All right, we've got National Football League coming up. The Carolina Panthers at the Chicago Bears. That is a 6:20 kickoff. Our coverage begins here in just a couple of minutes on Westwood One. Just to give you enough indication, we have two games on Sunday. Once again this week, the final game across the ocean, across the pond in Germany, as the Indianapolis Colts will take on the New England Patriots. Our coverage on Sunday of that game begins at 7 a.m., and then our kickoff of that will be at 7:30. That'll be followed by Sunday Night Football and Antonio Pierce, his second game as the head coach of the Las Vegas Raiders. The Raiders will be at home. They took on the Giants at home last week and won big. They'll get the New York Jets at home this week, and the Jets will come in. So Antonio trying to go 2-0 as the head coach. That'll be 5:30 on our coverage start time. 6:20 again will be kickoff in Las Vegas on Sunday night. Any final thoughts, J-Dub, before we wrap it up here tonight?
I'm just looking forward to working here the next 48 hours straight because Duke and Colorado, bring it. Let's do it.
Yeah, our coverage tomorrow will start at 1 o'clock with the Meridian Wealth Management Arizona tip-off show, and we'll take you from 1 to 4. We got some great guests coming up tomorrow. David Shoemate, the voice of the Duke Blue Devils, is going to join us. Kelvin Ifan will join us as well, and we'll get you set for that big ball game, which tips off at 5 o'clock. And then, of course, Arizona and Colorado football on Saturday, and we will have our coverage beginning at the Soul Sports at 7:30. Don't forget our appearance out at Soul Sports is brought to you by Coors Light, official corporate sponsor of Arizona Athletics. Coors Light, there's nothing like game day at Arizona, and the book opens at 6:30. We'll be on the air at 7:30. Thanks to Cricket, thanks to J-Dub, most of all, thanks to you for listening. I'm David Kelly, DK on the Sports Tip. We'll talk to you tomorrow.
We interrupt this program to bring you a special presentation of the National Football League. This is Wildcats Radio 1290.
The following is a presentation of Westwood.